I'm Miranda Rake.
And I'm Sarah Wheeler, and this is The Mother of It All, where we take on motherhood through the lens of culture and culture through the lens of motherhood.
Okay. Sarah?
Hello.
Hello.
I have too many tabs open. Too many tabs.
Yeah, that's ADHD.
It is. I mean, yes, it's a metaphor for
It's
ADHD.
lantern attention, right?
But there's so many exciting things that I have to open and intend to read.
Well, yes.
I have
Go
a
ahead.
very perimenopausal question for you that I was thinking about when I was thinking I would see you today, which is, how is your vertigo?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking about that this morning. I feel like I have anxiety that it will return, but then it isn't. So like I'll have a moment where I think like, am I dizzy? And then it's like,
Yes.
okay, no, I'm not dizzy right now. Like,
Well, that's good, because sometimes the anxiety makes you dizzy.
right. And I
Yeah.
figured that out with like when taking half an Ativan fixes most of the dizziness, that I'm like, okay, I think it was anxiety.
Taking half an Ativan fixes a lot.
Fixes so many things.
And might I interest you in a whole Ativan? Or two?
Or two.
In whiskey? Yeah.
I would die. I think I'm sensitive to that stuff. Because like when I told my doctor that I take like half, and she was like, you can take two. And I was like, I think I would fully die.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but your death would be so gentle.
I wouldn't care that I was dying. I would just die.
When did you realize that like all women in their 40s have some kind of like vertigo or dizziness? Was it when it started happening to you, or was it like when I had my dizzy year?
Well, no, when you had your dizzy year, I was like, it was a scary idea. Like, oh my God, like if it's happening to Sarah, it could happen to me.
It was a scary reality.
It sounded very scary. And then when it started happening to me, because I knew about your experience, I was like, maybe this is just my life now. And then when I told you I bumped into a friend after my like weird dizzy 3 days, and she was like, oh, that happened to me. Like, cause I was like, oh, I was so dizzy. I like threw up. I couldn't walk. I couldn't like, and she was like, yeah, that happened to me like a month ago. And I was like, wait,
once you start talking about it.
Yeah. People are like, me too. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Is this a thing?
I feel like you guys are trying to curse me right now, and I don't want. I really don't want any part of that.
Once you speak on a podcast with two dizzy ladies,
It's like The Ring.
no,
I don't want.
No, it's better
witness your vertigo and then get it.
Like all fears, it's better to speak it, to tell someone about your bad dream than to hold it inside. Yeah, I mean, knowledge is power. I mean, my dizziness could have actually been resolved quite quickly if anyone had known what it was. So if you're out there and you are just dizzy like all the time and you don't have vertigo, it's probably called 3PD, and you can take SSRIs for it, and it mostly gets rid of it. But then I had a relapse like
I was going to say,
ago.
how are you feeling?
I'm better. I tried to go off the SSRIs because weird sex drive, and then, or lack of sex drive, and then
weird sex drive sounds
weird
kind of
sex
exciting.
Drive. It drives me towards
is that like gambling
cutouts.
impulses?
Yeah, I'm only attracted to cardboard cutouts of football players. No, it mutes, for like a lot of people, they mute your sex drive.
Yeah.
And they make you have like weird, like muted orgasms. So I've worked this hard. We're going to talk about work today to have like a real orgasm. I don't want that Lexapro-ish. Yeah. So I tried to go down, but then I started getting dizzy. But I went back up. Now I feel better, but want sex drive. But I did exercise today for the first time in like 6 weeks. So
that's that,
because I couldn't, like, otherwise I would not have been able to handle like spinning around in dance class.
I mean, yoga was like way off the table for me because it's like a lot of up and down and upside down. And so something that we talk about, of course, is like perimenopausal stuff and the relationship between you and me, and also me and other early 40s
we
women.
As millennial women.
And I think
elder millennial,
realizing that the dizziness was possibly related to like hormonal
Yeah.
fluctuations and the kind of annoying feeling of piecing that together myself.
Yes.
Instead of talking to my PCP about it, who was just like, try the Epley maneuver. And you're like,
oh my God.
I don't
Fuck
think
that
that's
Epley maneuver.
Yeah, I think
that's for men. I don't know.
it's
I'm
for
sure
nobody.
It
I think it's for nobody. If it worked for you, that's beautiful, but it's so dumb. And you're like, and also telling like a really dizzy person, like, just make yourself dizzy on purpose.
Yes.
You're like,
quite triggering.
What? It'd be here's how you stop throwing up. Make yourself throw up.
It would be nice. It would be nice if people knew about women's bodies. But I will say, at least in my circles, it's like every 6 months, I feel like, whatever, all the medical professionals get like a little bit smarter about women and their bodies. But then there's always like some kind of appalling story about something someone couldn't access that's like so basic around perimenopause, or some doctor that was like, try the Epley maneuver.
Well, I am gonna
or wait until you die.
The dizzy thing is not my only perimenopausal, like, what I believe to be flag. It's like,
Can we do a whole paid episode on this? Can we do a whole bonus episode on perimenopause?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Were you going to get into more flags? Because I'm like looking at my guest.
No, I was just going to say that I learned in wanting to investigate the flags that there's this like menopause like society or something. And you can go to their website and you can search for providers who have like done continuing education on purpose into like perimenopause and menopause.
On purpose?
And it's a good, yes.
Learning about women on purpose, not
Learning
just
about
like
women on
1
purpose.
month, not in March.
Yes. And so you can find through that like society, you can find providers who might actually know like how to talk to you about what you're experiencing.
That's a great idea. Okay,
So maybe we
will
can
you dig
link
that
that
out of
since
one
we're
of
chatting
your
about it.
tabs? Great, and put it in.
I'll dig it out.
Well, we've already cursed our guest, so I feel like we should at least give her an opportunity to say her piece. We're so excited to have Amil Niazi back on the podcast. She's a Toronto-based producer and writer. She writes for The Cut, a beautiful parenting column called The Hard Part. And her work has also appeared in the New York Times, the Washington Post. She's been featured in Vogue, all the places you like to get your culture. And she is the author of a new book that was out January 6th, Life After Ambition, a good enough memoir. Thank you for joining us, Amil.
Thanks for having me and cursing me, I guess, now.
You're so welcome. You're going to be great. But you know where to call. You know who to call, right? If the room starts to spin.
I actually, just after my launch party here in Toronto, I was hanging out with a couple friends. One who had come all the way from Halifax to Toronto for the book launch, and another who's an artist, and we, knew each other from another lifetime, and it was great to catch up. And then they're a few years older than me, so they're in their late 40s, and they were talking
Wise
about
elders.
perimenopause and menopause and HRT, and just listening to them talk about the blood tests and the trials and the patches, and I was just like, oh my God, like, I guess I've been avoiding it for so long because I had a baby recently. And I sort of was like, oh, that pushed it right in my head. I was like, well, I'm postpartum. I can't, sure, clearly I can't be perimenopause.
Yeah.
And I just got my period yesterday. A surprise, like, whoa, okay, that still happens. So
like your first one since you gave birth?
It's actually only my third one, which is very surprising. Again, I guess that's a sign of perimenopause. Anyways, it all to say it's been on my mind a lot. So you talking about it was just another sign that I need to go to my doctor and say, I need some blood tests. Let me know what's going on. And if I have to get on some kind of patch or prophylactic or whatever I need to do, I'll do it.
Yep.
I don't want to be dizzy or less horny or any of those things.
I want to be more horny even. Could we do that? Like, could it be even better?
I think you can do that. Aren't there all those, wasn't there that Cut piece about all the women taking testosterone?
Yeah. Oh, I'd have to do that.
But you got to be so careful because then it can also do other terrible things to you.
Yeah.
Right.
What about oysters?
Yeah.
Can't we make oysters into some kind of
Or
like
is there not a
it.
Viagra for women yet? Like where you just when you want to do it, you can do it, and when you don't, you're
right?
just like, hey, don't touch me.
And your clit just like grows out of your. I'm like, what? Sorry. Okay, Emil, who is just get your mind out of the gutter and tell us who is caring for your kids right now.
Oh, well, daycare is taking care of 2 of my kids. I was going to say 3 because I am also responsible for an extra kid today, because that's just the kind of
Oh,
thing that I do
yeah.
as a member of my community. And my other son is going to be picked up from school by my amazing neighbor, Lelaine, who asked
Yeah,
me to shout
Lelaine.
her out. She's actually also mentioned in the acknowledgments of my book because she has done so much childcare for me over the past couple of years while I was writing the book. She is just the best human ever. So she's going to pick up my son, and then he's going to silently slink into the basement and watch Crunch Labs until we're done.
Oh, yeah. Crunch Labs are real hot in this household,
Very
too.
hot. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you bought the boxes or signed up for the camp? We're always debating whether it's, worth it, whether it's, I know like he's signing off on those things, but does it have the magic that the show does?
This is this guy, right? This
Yeah.
is
Mark
the
Rober.
yeah. So I
Rober?
just learned
You
about
talking about
this
Rober?
guy. I just learned about him from a friend who showed up at my house with like a box, like one of
Yeah.
the boxes.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, this is what Mark Rober's
Mark Rober.
thing." And I was like, "Who's that?" And then I Googled him, and it was like, it seems like it's like second only to Mr. Beast. And I'm like,
Right.
am I living under like a log or
Yes.
something? Like,
He's a YouTuber, but my kids are not allowed to watch YouTube. So he's recently come on Netflix, and that is how he entered my
Yep.
life. And my son is a huge science guy. He loves to like take things apart and put them together. So he's obsessed. My daughter, who's only 5, watches whatever he watches. And she, I think, is in love with Mark Rober. She was asked me if he had a girlfriend. And that was
Yeah,
like a
he's
very
quite
funny question.
charismatic. There were like
Yeah.
inklings that he like maybe there's a picture of him with like some right wing person, but I have
he
ignored
looks
them.
kind of, doesn't he
looks
seem
very
a little
right-wing. Yes.
right? It feels
it's-
very like this guy is gonna like definitely show up with like Peter Thiel or something at like a retreat on Kauai at like Zuckerberg's place.
No,
Yeah,
he's a
For
good man.
sure. I think he's like a Silicon Valley weirdo.
I will say though, I watched an episode with them because I always try and know exactly what is going on in their brains
That's noble of
with
you.
the TV, and I got a great kick out of it. It was about these squirrels and the little
he loves the
thing
squirrels.
he built for them, and it was genuinely entertaining, and I could see the facts were being regurgitated back to me by my kids, which is a good sign. So, and actually, Sarah, yes, I have had a box sent to me for PR. So, it was harder to build than expected. So my husband had to help quite a bit. And then it just sort of sat there. So I don't think that it is worth the money. I think it's cool that they're learning stuff, but I wouldn't go past the...
Yeah, there's these other boxes we used to do a lot. I can't remember what they're called, but they're very popular. They're like, maker boxes.
the koala. Is there a koala?
Right,
box
there's koala. There's like, and Kiwi crate. Kiwi crate.
That's it.
Yeah.
And
That's
yeah, it was
had
like
those.
it filled an hour or two, right? And you have to get it just right where like your kid can be kind of independent with it and it isn't just creating insane work for you. At the most then, if it was like a vending machine or a marble run, we would play with it for a little bit. But yeah, then they become trash in your household.
trash. It's a lot of trash.
it's
And
all
when it
trash.
came every month, I was like overwhelmed,
Yeah.
like by the crap of it all, where
Yeah.
you're like, just too much stuff.
Yeah. We can also do a bonus episode on our feelings about Mark Rober and Crunch Labs, because I have more to say about like the fat shaming of that one squirrel. And I mean, it goes deeply.
I know.
But I want to talk about your book,
gosh.
Emil. I want to talk about your book.
Yes.
Okay. I see this book as kind of a eulogy or an obituary for your ambition, right? I mean, I think that kind of aligns with where you're going with it. And I'm wondering if you can walk us through your ambition's lifespan. Like, where did it begin? How did it grow? And how did it finally pass on to another plane?
Yeah, I feel like it's like on its way to dying, but hasn't quite died just yet. So
Still with
it's
us.
I mean,
it's
you brushed
still
your
with
hair
us.
today,
Exactly.
obviously. Right.
I put
There's
lipstick on
traces.
for you guys.
Thank you.
So yeah, I grew up in a family of immigrants. We were new to Canada when I was just about 5 or 6, and we came to this country with no money. And so, I grew up pretty poor. It took me a long time to even be comfortable saying those words, but it is
Mm-hmm.
what it is, Um, I think a lot of people have grown up similarly, and um, I was a desirous kid. Like, I wanted stuff. I wanted to keep up with my friends,
Yeah.
but I also craved a kind of stability that I think only in a child's mind money can bring you. And to
Yeah.
make money, you need to strive. You need to have a path and a goal. I was, yes, really craving just the kind of life that I thought only um a really good job and really good money could give me. And so the fire in my belly started at that point. But
Mm.
I didn't really have a lot of mentors. I didn't have a lot of people I could look to in my life that could say, like, yeah, well, I did this and I have a great life. So I looked to pop culture, like, again, a lot, I think of children of immigrants, children of who've grown up in poverty, do similar things. They're just like, well, the TV is going to show me how to be. um and I fell in love with rom-coms. I'm a kid of the 90s, and
Mm-hmm.
so I looked at these rom-coms, and it was really the era of the, like, boss lady, single girl who goes
Totally.
to the big city, right? And
Totally.
forgets her small town, not
Right.
interested in relationships. She just wants to be like a journalist, like a kick-ass journalist. And
Right.
you
I'm
know
thinking like Devil Wears Prada has like a little bit
exactly.
of that. What about like
um
there are always journalists, or like even Hitch, you don't see her origin story, but like she's so cool working at a magazine, Eva Mendes.
and I'm thinking about uh Kate Hudson in
Yes, How to
the
Lose a Guy in 10
yes,
Days.
right? Andy,
Yes.
she's like
Mhm.
just wants to get published, her
Mhm.
smart, serious journalism, and not interested in men because she's got a goal. And so
Yep.
I kind of modeled my idea of ambition after these women in pop culture. Which is just to tell you how amorphous and, like, not really solid my plan was. But I knew I had to strive, and so I really just put myself out into the world and was like, that's my focus and that's my goal.
Hmm.
And I did everything I could to just keep climbing. And along the way, it was like, you're doing such a great job. We love you. We think you're great, but we're not going to promote you because there's this guy that is a friend of a friend, and he's going to get that job instead. And
Mm.
even if though you have to train him, you also have to listen to him, and he's going to tell you what to do, even though he doesn't know what's going on. It just, like, I just kept bumping up against these ceilings. And even though I kept being told, like, this is a meritocracy, and if you just put your head down and work hard, you'll get somewhere. And that's what I was doing, and I wasn't getting anywhere. And then when I was finally pregnant with my first child, after many years of IVF and trying and thinking about it, and
Yeah.
also being terrified of even wanting a child because I was so nervous about what it would do to the career that I had managed to
Mm.
piece together. Um, I remember looking up uh, some statistics because I was going to go on a maternity leave, and I was scared about what it would mean and what happens. And I was reading that women's peak earning years are between like 35 and 40 something. And I was like, oh, I'm 36, so by the time I come back, like I was already making less money than so many people I knew, and the idea that that was the peak was, like, really scary to me. And I think that was the turning point in my brain of, like, maybe this isn't for you, and maybe it doesn't you're doesn't this is not the right way to get what you always thought you wanted, and maybe you actually don't want what you think you wanted.
Mm.
And then
Mhm.
when I got what was sort of like what I thought was my dream job, working at the BBC, in a like a fairly high up position, making really good money, getting to live
Mm.
in London. Um,
Ooh,
and then,
that
but
does sound
trying to do
cool.
it with a 6-month-old, um, it just, everything broke and I just started to collapse and I was like, oh my God. And the job was one of those jobs that, again, like it feels like, okay, this is, I'm on the ladder, really on the ladder now. And if I stay here, I could really achieve a lot of success. But I remember, so I worked in commissioning and I would have to like help creatives, pitch things to the BBC and get them made.
Mm.
And I would always like get really excited and be like, well, what if you did this? And what if we did that? And I remember my boss pulling me aside once and being like, Emil, we're not the creatives. It's not our job to like have the ideas. And I was like, wait a minute. I am a person who wants to have the ideas. Like, what am I doing? What is this all for? And so shortly after that conversation with her, I quit my job and
Mm.
it's all been downhill or uphill from there, depending
Yeah,
on your
yeah, right.
perspective.
Depending on your view of
Um,
success.
no, I feel I've actually never felt more successful. I've never felt, I feel like I sound like Tony Robbins when I say that, but I actually have never felt
I
more
look in the mirror every morning
yes, and I go,
and
you
say,
did it.
yeah.
No, I feel so like actually at at peace with myself. And I think it
Mm.
took, first of all, realizing that a kind of blind ambition serves no one. And that's really what I was doing, was like blindly focused on doing something and being someone and having this external validation and people uh congratulating me for achieving things. But I was like constantly running away from myself. I was ashamed to say um uh, who, uh, who I was, how I grew up. There was just so much I was hiding, and I think in putting all of this stuff out in the book was also a way of being like, it's okay to kind of be a little bit fucked up, and it's okay to have fucked up. Um, it's not an impediment to having true success, which I found, I think, by accepting myself and being truly myself and doing away with all of that.
Mm.
That notion of where ambition can take you.
Right.
How do
More
you
is more,
think,
higher is higher.
Yeah.
Hmm.
like, I think so much of what you're saying is super relatable. And the last time we had you on, we were talking about the essay that like
Hmm.
sort of sparked the book, right? Like the millennial midlife crisis, kind of like what, or I guess part of the book, like, um, so much of this is I think classic midlife reckoning,
Yeah.
right? Like, okay, I'm supposedly at some kind of peak and I'm looking around from like where I've been, where I'm going, and nothing is what I thought it was,
Hmm.
right? And like I have totally felt that, where I'm like, I've got the house, I've got the kids, I've got the husband, I've got this life that you know is so normal or whatever, and it's also kind of trippy, and in some ways you have this many selves inside of you, and you're like, is this what 12-year-old me like wanted? Like, what
Mm.
did I want? What
I was
do I
thinking
want? Like,
about that, like when I was reading your book, Emil, like, because it's so clear, like you wanted to be a writer when you grew up. I think that, and I was like thinking about what I wanted to be when I grew up and how that, if that's meaningful at all,
Hmm.
like if that,
yeah,
is there anything, of course we don't like all have to, I'm not a unicorn. I don't ride a
Yeah.
unicorn every day, but like,
dang
is there
it.
anything from that? What
Not
did you want to
yet.
be, Miranda? What did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh god, it's so embarrassing. I wanted to be an actress. I was a theater kid, and
Yeah.
so I was very serious about it. I mean, I
Mm.
would research it. I was like, okay, I've got to go to probably go live in
Yale School of
London, and
Drama.
I'm
Yeah.
going to like really
Oh, you
that's
were
how
like
I
a
do it. And
serious actor
oh,
because
I was so serious about
yeah,
it, and
like
then when I
Rada
finally
style.
got yes, when I finally got a lead role in high school, like, I think that was the beginning of the end because I was like, "Wait, this is super scary." Like, all I had were nightmares about forgetting all my lines. Like, I did not enjoy it, actually. It was, like, scary. And so then that was my first crisis. But I'm curious about Emil, like it is a little bit scary to walk away from the comfort, like you're saying, of like even just hearing the story of walking away from a job at the BBC where you're like, oh, that would be such a convenient thing to tell people you do, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like no one's going to harass you about
Yeah.
it. No one has a question that you are good at stuff. Right? If
Yeah.
you have a job title like
Mm.
that, like everyone's like, oh, she's smart, or whatever. Like, and so letting go of that sort of, like you say, external kind of comfortable way of signaling to strangers that I'm awesome. Like, how do you like what helped you get comfortable with a more squishy professional kind of situation?
Well, number one is that I had and have a partner that was employed and, what was making enough money that we could, if we pulled back quite a bit, we could survive on one income while I started to build up, a potential freelance income. So, you know, in full transparency, I think you always have to say, like, how did you
Yeah.
actually monetarily survive? There was
Right,
another
right. How do
person
you walk away from
earning
the
income.
money? Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Although it also meant that we probably had to leave London because it's just way too expensive of a city to also, even though he was making great money, it's like just impossible to survive. Especially with how many like olives and baguettes you want to eat. Like it's too
Mm,
tempting to,
Olives will set you back a few.
right? To
but
live
it's
it
always worth it.
to live in London and not have money to like really experience the
Mhm.
city, it can
Mhm.
be heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So we kind of knew we would have to leave. But honestly, Miranda, it was how bad I was feeling every day going to work and how
Mhm.
just like it
Mm.
was a physical, almost like a paralysis. Like I write, there's a chapter about this show Bosch, that is in
Mhm.
the book. And I would watch this show and it's a detective show. It's apparently not a good show, but in my state of mind at the time was like, this is the
Who
best show
gets to
that was ever
define
made.
that?
It's true. Everyone, I guess,
Yeah,
who's read the book and
yeah.
is like, really, Bosch? But he would go to work and he had this like incredible clarity about what he did and just like clearly loved his job, took so much
Oh,
satisfaction
yeah.
from it. And it was such a tangible satisfaction. Like he went, there was a bad guy, he got the bad guy, put him in jail,
Mm.
and then he would drive home to
Mhm.
his beautiful LA apartment and then like drink whiskey and look out at
Have a
the
drink.
at the
Yep.
skyline. And
On
I
the
was
Mhm.
rocks.
like, even the theme song was affecting me in such an intense way that I was like, something is clearly wrong. Like every red light is flashing, and it was a point that I actually could not stay there any longer, or else I felt like I was gonna die. It's like you in the Advance. Like I just was like, I can't do this. But I
Yeah.
also think for this generation, we have lived through so many, or I certainly have, layoffs,
Yeah.
implosions of companies. Half the companies I've worked for don't even exist anymore. I have to
Mhm.
like
Mm.
print out my articles,
Relatable. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so it at this point it's just not even part of my reality that there is such a thing as a stable job. There's not a company. I mean, the BBC is probably immune, but they're not immune from layoffs. Like the whole time I was there, people were getting laid off. Every company I've worked for has had multiple rounds of layoffs while I've been there. And so I've never experienced a kind of true stability at my workplace, and that I think that's so true for most millennials. I think for a lot of Gen Zs. So I think as part of a self defense mechanism, you don't even allow yourself the thought that this is a job I'll have for life, because I don't even know if
Yeah.
that's true.
Right.
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 So
Right.
I
So it's
think
like
that makes it a lot. I think that's one thing that
Yeah.
is so different for us than it was for our parents and
right.
even Gen
The
Xers. It's like,
comparison is changing.
it has changed, right? Because most of us
Yeah.
don't know the feeling of like, I'm walking away from a job that I've been at for 30 years. Like, that's unfathomable. It's like, nah,
Mm-hmm.
I was on a
Yeah.
contract.
It's interesting. Like the one
Mm-hmm.
I have kind of like, I have a lot, my like fingers in a lot of different pots professionally. And like my experience in my kind of freelance and writing career is very similar to what you're describing. And then, the other piece is working in schools. And that is a place where, a lot of people, it's one of the few places,
Mm-hmm.
like being a teacher, being an admin, that there is more, you're still seeing that kind of like, okay, I'm going to do this for 30 years. It's going to be stable. Even, I have good retirement depending on where you are and how long you've been in it. And, so I still kind of side eye that sometimes. Like I was telling Miranda the other day, like I was just looking, like doing a job search in the middle of the night. Like, I just want stability. I want a stable paycheck. I want to know how much work I'm going to do every week. Maybe I just need to go back to, to working one job in a public school.
Mm-hmm.
But like your Bosch scenario is so evocative to me because I did start out as a teacher. And the reason that I left is that I think I had maybe a little bit of an unrealistic fantasy, but also a somewhat reasonable one that I would really love my job. And it was just too painful for me, the things about that weren't true.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I couldn't, I was like, well, it'd be better to kind of make something else up.
It's funny because
And then I became a mom.
Yeah.
And, I do want to know what was, you were going to say one other thing.
Well, it's
Sorry,
just
I
that
cut you
teacher
off,
is on
Amil.
my list of jobs that I am like, well, maybe I could still be a teacher. I think we all have these, and maybe we talked about last time, like a
Yes.
therapist, teacher,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes plumber is in there because I hear it's very stable. Like I still
Mm,
have a long list of jobs that I'm like, well, maybe I still do have time
maybe I will.
to do
I
that.
Well,
know,
we
but
talk
even
about that,
even
right? Like
that is shifting.
we talk about this a lot. We did talk about this last time, I think, where a lot of us are realizing how different it is for our generation and trying to take that in, accept the landscape, right? Like I feel like this is my own process and something that comes up a lot with friends. Just like, okay, like there is not one career. Like,
Yeah.
so that means, what does that mean for me as someone in my early 40s? Well, it means I'll probably work for another 30 years. So it's probably not crazy to even go back to school to make a big life change.
I do feel really, really like free from those old stories. I feel really free from the idea of myself that I had when I was in my 20s and even in my 30s and certainly in my teens. And I feel like writing this and putting it out there was a way of really just saying like, those are not things that you have to keep secret in order to be good, in order to be successful, in order to be
Mhm.
um I think accomplished, and I think um there is a fear, especially as a woman, uh that if you allow yourself to be weak, quote unquote, in the workplace, that will change how people see you and therefore change what people think you're capable of, and then you will get promoted less, or you won't be given certain projects the same way that you're certainly as a journalist. It's like if you were ever seen crying because you were upset by something that happened in the news, then people would be like, oh,
Mm,
she can't handle, we're working on these tough stories,
mm,
so give her the fluff. And it's like, how could you not cry after, for example, working on a story about um a war torn country and someone coming here and finally finding, there's just so many things that
yeah.
moved me as a journalist, and I thought that was a power to be empathetic. To me it's like, great that I have empathy for these people because I've lived through, similar things, and it allows me probably to get more out of them for the story than someone who doesn't allow themselves to be in any way subjective. Um
Mhm.
and and I think that, yes, like you say, like, putting those stories out there and not allowing myself to be too tethered to them, hopefully allows other people to read it and go, oh, I don't have to, there's not one way to be successful. um
Hmm.
Mhm.
and
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
loving I just, like well, maybe we can link to it, but, like, my obsession with Cup of Joe is long and well documented, but her Substack, they've been running this series of, um, like, features about women making career changes in midlife and, like,
mm,
with details about, like, how they did it
I
and,
love that.
and things like, "I became a lawyer at 45," or
Hmm.
whatever, and I can't read enough of those stories. I'm
Yeah.
like, "I wanna
yeah.
hear everybody's story. I wanna hear what you were doing. I wanna hear, like, what changed and why and how you did it."
I
And,
do
like,
think
so
that
cool.
there's an opportunity to the instability that the workforce has right now. In terms of like our lifespan, that these hearing like my sister, her kids, got to high school and she went back to teaching and she got a new teaching credential and like she has a whole other career. And she's really good at it, and she did that for financial reasons in a lot of ways. She needed to be making more stable income to support her kids in college. But also she loves it. And that does give me, you use the word peace, Emil, like that does give me some professional peace. But I'm wondering in general how you think of the relationship between ambition and motherhood. You have 3 kids,
Hmm.
so you have a lot of fodder for this.
Yeah. Very ambitious of me to have 3 kids,
Right.
actually.
Your motherhood is ambitious in and of itself.
I mean, I think, um, for a long time, I did think, again, this is probably something I absorbed from pop culture, that, in order to be a good mom, uh, I had to also be very good at my job, like that I had to be a perfectionist in both areas, because otherwise I was not modeling like a good, um you know uh, I wasn't being a good feminist if I wasn't like showing my kids that this is what
Mm,
women do. They go to work,
yeah.
they're amazing at work, and then they come home and they're amazing at being a mom. And I joined the PTA and I was just like, I'm going to do everything all at once because that is what a good woman does. And uh when I realized like how badly I was failing at both of those things at once, I was just like, whoa, okay, Emil, I don't think this is like how you're supposed to do this at
Mm,
all, actually. And I was so moved when I discovered this idea, this Winnicott theory of the good enough mother, um and was like, oh my god, of course this is it. Like, of course the answer is really just that we only have to be good enough, and that is going to show my kids so much more than what I thought I had to do. And so I think that my ambition, my kind of blind ambition towards professional success, had bled over into the way I was mothering.
yeah.
And that when I realized I had to pull back in one sphere, I think I also had the same realization about pulling back in the other
Mm,
sphere. And of course, I was so worried that, like, I didn't care if I was pulling back in work, whatever. But like, if I pulled back at home, was I gonna let my kids down? Was, like, that, I think I struggled with letting go of ambition in the motherhood space. That was a lot harder for me to
mm.
to come to terms with. And I think
Do you think
that's,
having a 3rd baby was, like, related? Like, I've heard people who have more children is like I certainly feel like having a 2nd, I couldn't be as intense about my 1st,
yes.
and
Yeah.
I would imagine that a 3rd baby does the same thing again?
Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely. My husband and I joke about it all the time. We're just like, we can't. Like, we just can't. There's so many things that you just, all the rules that you had just go out the window, and you're like,
Mm.
whatever. If you guys want to spend the entire day inside and we just all are doing our own things, that's completely fine. Like, we're trying to survive. Like, the good enough theory doesn't even become a theory by the third. Like, you're just like, that's the mantra in this house, and that's what everyone is striving for.
yeah.
Mhm.
It's like the only possibility.
It's the only possibility, and I think that
Yeah.
that's really great. Like, I do have a lot of friends with one child, and I see them out there hustling so hard, and I'm always pulling the mom aside and being like, "You don't like, you
Right.
can just
Right. Do
relax,
less.
right? Do less."
Do
And
less.
it's
Yeah.
always like, you're waiting, and I remember having one myself. It's like you're waiting for permission to do it, and you're looking to other women usually to give you that permission, right? Because you're not going to ever give it to yourself,
Yeah.
and you kind of need
Yeah.
another mom to be like, it's okay. Like, your kid will
Mhm.
not suffer if you
Mhm.
let them watch an extra hour of Miss Rachel.
It
Mhm.
so resonates for me when you talk about like wanting to be a good feminist for your kids, like you have, I think, like me and Miranda, you have a girl and a boy and another one.
Yeah, two boys
Another
and a girl.
boy,
but
right?
Yeah,
but
Two
you're a
boys.
two
parent to
boys.
kids of different
Yeah.
genders, right? And so like that brings with itself, like, there are different reasons that I want to show my daughter what a good woman does,
Exactly.
than
Yeah.
the reasons I want to show my son, but they both feel really urgent.
Mhm.
I'm wondering what messages you think your kids are picking up around ambition and work and money.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I know, uh, I can see that because I talk about my work a lot, obviously, and they've been super present throughout this whole process of like pitching the book. I was pregnant
Hmm.
when I was pitching it, and I think when I sold it. Obviously, in the process of writing it, I work right from home, so they've been all around me, like physically around me while I was writing. And then they've really got to see the whole process of, like, seeing the book cover, getting the first galleys, like, going to the launch. They've been really aware of, like, suddenly what mom does and what it means. I brought my son to a couple of radio interviews because he wanted to
Mm.
see, like, what, I'm like talking about this, what's mom doing. So I've brought them in a lot because I think it's so important, like, talking about how I didn't have models or mentors about, you know, to which I could look to, um, around what an adult could do and be. And I want them to see this version of working life. And I think it's been really good and healthy. I have this great thing in my mind, where recently I have a long desk, on purpose because I knew that I would inevitably have kids wanting to sit beside me while I work. So I have a long desk.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Um,
I have a
and
very skinny desk
you
and
do.
it makes me sad. Yeah,
It
well, it's a closet.
It's a closet. Okay, so we redid our basement not that long ago, and one of the
Ooh.
most important things was that I had to have a big working space. I
Mhm.
think it's like it's meant to be like a kitchen counter, but it's
Yeah.
long. And
Oh,
I
I
was
love it.
writing, I was on a deadline, but I was also solo parenting, and so the kids wanted to be around me. And my eldest son was working on a comic, and he also was like watching me write, and he was like, "Well, I'm actually making a book." And he was writing out all the chapters, and he was
Oh.
writing the acknowledgments and the dedication, like, cuz he'd seen me do all that. And my daughter was painting these ceramics that we'd made, and every couple of minutes I would look over and be like, "Good job, you're doing great." And I remember telling my daughter, like, "Oh, I love the colors you chose for that." And she was like, "Yeah, I know, I'm a great artist." And that just, like,
Yeah.
her
My kids are
intense
also
confidence,
overconfident.
right?
Yeah.
Uh, it was so beautiful to me that they were, like, channeling their creativity in that moment, but also getting to see me work. And we were doing this, like, parallel work play thing, and it just was, like, kind of my dream moment. I was like, "This is it." Like, this is
Mhm.
kind of what I'd always hoped for, is that I could do a job that would allow me not just to be present for my kids, but to be a good role model for them. And it just was like,
Mm-hmm.
this is working, and this is
Mm-hmm.
healthy and good, and all the sacrifices that I've made and continue to make around work, it's like it's paying off because I'm getting
Yeah.
to be here for them and have them see me in this like very positive way. And so I feel like they're seeing a lot of good stuff. The money stuff is thornier because I think because of how I grew up, I do try to talk about money in a very realistic way with them, right?
Yeah.
Like when we go to
Yeah.
the store, I'll tell them their budget, they have to go pay for it, they have to look at the thing and make sure that they have enough money for it. Um, if we can't afford something, I'm very open about that. I'm like, that's expensive. We'll have to wait for a
Mm-hmm.
birthday or Christmas or, whatever. And
Yep.
so uh they've absorbed it really well, and like they never throw a fit in a store if I say no, because they're like, that's very expensive. But then sometimes I have this like heartbreak around it too, where I hear little kids talking to each other about like, that's really expensive, that's a, and I think, oh, am I supposed to not let them know about money in that way? Like, should it
Right.
be
Right.
still a bit of like, is
Mhm.
it too realistic and harsh for them to
Yes.
have to
Am I
know
like
about money?
adultifying them?
Exactly.
Right.
And
Like when my mom was a kid, she was basically doing the books for her parents. Like I think
right.
that
That's
was
too
a little
much.
intense.
Yeah.
Although it made her very responsible. Yeah,
Well,
that's
it's
such an
also like
interesting
comes
tension.
the money thing. I think I do the same, like well, that's not in our budget today or whatever, like at the store. And um, I guess I come from a place of just like trying to be honest. Like
Yeah.
I would, sure, I guess I would buy that for you, but I literally don't have the money.
Yeah.
Like
But
sometimes
then
it's
Yeah.
like I've got $14 until my paycheck comes,
I
so we
yes,
absolutely cannot
exactly.
buy that.
We absolutely
Like,
cannot buy that. But then
yeah.
I'll hear my son, like, he loves to make comic books, and he'll often be like, well, I'm going to make 20 of these. I'm going to sell them for this much money. And then I'm going to take that money and I'm going to buy a 3D printer and I'm going to make these toys. And he's like hyper
He's like
aware.
got a whole business
No, he
plan.
does. He's
Oh,
like very
dang.
entrepreneurial, which is great. But yeah, like it makes me think like, am I adultifying him by telling him that, this costs this much, and is it making him I just don't, I guess I have this fear that um, all this talk about work and money will turn it into like one of those grind
Yeah.
and hustle bros. And he's going to be
Right.
like, you got to get out there and make
Maybe
my dough. Like,
starting a juice company. I mean, maybe we're overcorrecting, but that's just the natural course of like the pendulum swing of parenting too.
yes, true. And
You know?
if rebellion
Yeah.
ends up being that he wants to be a grind and hustle bro, like I guess that's
Yeah.
not the worst thing in the world to be. I don't
I'm
know.
I'm listening to you talk and I'm thinking about myself as a kid too, and like what did I learn about work and money and success when I
Like
was
Christmas
little?
jobs? We were talking about Christmas
Oh,
jobs.
yeah, yeah. Well, my parents loved their work, and I think
Mm.
that was really beautiful. I could see that. They're both therapists, so like it's not like I could really observe it, but I saw their love. They both still work. They're quite old, like we will be will be working till we're 100.
Mhm.
But I think I got that message that work was something you love, and like, we're saying about our worries about what we're trying to teach our kids versus what they might internalize. I think that was good in lots of ways. And it made me want a job that felt like service oriented and that I could believe in. And it set me up in some ways to have like big expectations for
Yeah.
better or worse.
Mhm.
But
Same,
yes,
Sarah.
I
Same,
also, like to Miranda's thing, I also always worked as a kid. Like it was like, I was raised like we had enough
same.
money for basics and we were not worried about that. But like if you wanted add-ons, they had to come from your money. And so I always worked like pretty since I was a kid.
Yeah, when
And
was your first job? What was your first?
it was always like I worked with kids a lot. So like probably my
Mm,
first job was some kind of like after school, like light babysitting. I think when I was like
mhm.
11, I took the neighbor's kid and I picked him up from school and we went and got a snack and like I played cards with him for 90 minutes before his like mom got home. But then like in high school and stuff, like I used to work Christmas jobs at the Body Shop in
Mhm.
Harvard Square.
Mhm.
So I smelled like fuzzy peach for like 6 weeks. And I worked at like a bakery. I mean, I did a
Did
ton.
you like that? How did you feel about that job?
I love working retail. I mean,
Oh,
Emil, you have
okay.
these great
My nightmare.
passages in your book about the jeans wall at the Gap. I know
Oh
you
my God.
hated it. I loved like the bustle of it. I don't think I could work retail now because I think a lot of it is so empty.
Yeah.
But like Christmas
you-
at the body shop, people are coming in, like they got gifts to buy. I have advice. Like
Yeah.
we are bantering. Time passes, and as soon as you know it, your 8 hours is up. You
I
can
like
go home.
so my Christmas job was I used to work at BCBG.
Oh my God, this is so
Fancy.
90s. This like
That's
fancy.
And so the like
did you get a good discount?
I got an okay discount.
Yeah,
Seasonal
not as
employees
much
only
as
got
you'd
a little
like.
bit of a discount, but the lifers got like 70% off.
Whoa.
But they were supposed to wear the clothes, and
But
they would
they're so
trade. So they
expensive.
all had they were all fashion, really committed to fashion, and all their friends worked in fashion. So they would share their discounts.
Mm.
So there was this girl who was
mhm.
really fancy, and her name was Mig, and she had all these
She sounds so cool.
discounts with all the other places. So she was always wearing like Gucci and stuff.
Whoa.
And, I was just like, oh my God, Meg is so fancy. And I worked and so below Meg was Ryan. And Ryan was the one who would call me when it was time to get the seasonal employees hired. And he called me Pitchfork because my last name is Rake. And so I would just get this call in October that was like, hey, Pitchfork, are you free in December?
It makes it sound so much more unofficial than it was, but it was like that. They're like,
yeah,
we're hiring,
it was just this
we're
weird
hiring
kind
against
of,
union.
But the paychecks were a real education. It was like I was on my feet all day in heels. People were mean to me. I was the lowest person on the totem pole, and nobody cared about me at all. And not even Ryan. And it was
You're listening to the same tape on a 2-hour loop
The music.
until you lose your mind.
No, I can't. Music.
So Sarah, I'm curious about you and Emil, in terms of but it was valuable, right? It was a valuable education because I got that first paycheck and I was like, what?
Right.
And, I came home and I was like, Mom, look at this. And she's
how much it got taken out. And yeah.
Welcome to adulthood. And I was like, what? And so do you want your kid, not make your kids work, but do you think that you might put them in some kind of jobs like that? Yeah. Just to, yeah.
My daughter would be great, and I think she'll probably want to. I'm sure the mall would be a dream job for her if such things exist. I know that my eldest son, he's a lot like me, and I think very in his own world and mind and kind of spacey. So it's I think it would be good for him, but we'd have to he'd have to find the right job because I think he could end up really heartbroken. but yes, I think I would encourage them to I certainly want them to, if they want add-ons, if they want the fancy jeans, if they want the thing that everyone has in high school, then they should go out and earn it. And I think that will give them a sense of how silly a lot of these things we want are. And I don't want to be the one to tell them. I want them to be
right.
Man, I spent my whole paycheck on two Labubu's. That sucks. Now I can't hang out with my friends, as opposed to me having to buy them and then they're end up trashed in the car. And I'm like,
Emil, some of us are still learning those lessons.
No. No, I know.
I'm
Sarah.
I love stuff, and it is a lifelong journey.
It's interesting to think about ambition that you want to pass down to your kids, right? Because there's part of me that has anxiety when I think if I didn't pass ambition on to my kids, would they be okay?
Yeah.
Right.
Especially in this kind of freaky global economy moment. I'm when you talk about your son having some hustle, I'm that's good. He's going to need that because everything is getting more unpredictable. But at the same time, you're well, what's healthy? I don't know. What?
Well,
I don't know how you.
I mean, I actually was thinking about this a lot this morning, listening to a radio show about grade inflation and how, young kids now in high school are essentially having to have 90 plus, not 90 plus averages in order to even just get the bare minimum to get into some of these universities. And so, what does that do to them? And also, these days an undergraduate degree is like just the rubber stamp you need to even be out there looking for work, let alone get some of the jobs that I think generations older than us were able to do with a BA or whatever. Um, and so what for our kids, because I think we all have kids that are pretty young, and what is university going to look like for them? What is the job market going to look for them? It's going to be very, very different, right? And so setting them up for that looks, I think, a lot more like internal work than external ideas of, okay, I'm going to help you be ambitious by making sure you get into a university, and then that you
Right.
have an idea for yourself for afterwards, right? It's more
Right,
like,
because that's not as linear as it used to be.
it's not going to be.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think like my work is going to be more about making sure that they have a healthy sense of self, that they have confidence in themselves, that they have resilience and the ability to navigate changing circumstances. And that's my goal for them in terms of like what I want to pass on for them um, going into adulthood, as opposed to,
Mhm.
I think, a more traditional idea of ambition. Because I
Yeah.
just don't
Yeah.
think it's going to be, we can't predict what it's going to be, but I think it's going to be pretty bleak in comparison to like what boomers had to deal with.
Well, I think I've
I want
mentioned
those
it
things for myself. I
Yeah.
want
before,
someone to
but like
teach me those things.
I interviewed the guy
And
who,
Miranda, we got to wrap
yeah.
soon. I got to ask for, but go ahead.
Oh yeah, well, I interviewed the guy who coined the like Gen Alpha term, and I think he's
Oh.
Australian or something. And he was saying that, he's like a business. It's all kind of like about how do you sell to this upcoming generation, of course,
Yeah.
is like why they wrote the report. But so he had this kind of like positive framework for it, but it was like you're saying, like the future of our economy will demand like flexibility, creativity. I mean, and a lot of people are using this as an argument for like preserving like the humanities in higher education, because this kind of broad, being generally well read, being general, maybe a language, maybe two languages, like, and kind of knowing how to be curious and how to pursue that curiosity, like having some sense of discernment and like a critical lens. Like, I think all of these things that um are really just kind of being a human in the world, like kind of focusing on, like you're saying, a sense of self, a sense of confidence, maybe liking yourself. It's interesting to think about what that means as a parent. Like it isn't drive, get into the Ivy and then you'll get a job and you're done.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be a lot more, I think, lifespan, like preparing you for your whole lifespan.
Yeah.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Exactly.
Before we let you go, Amil, do you have any culture recommendations as an adult for families, whatevs?
Well, we just watched the new Muppet Show last night, and I've been trying to get my kids into the Muppet Show for years, because I feel like
Me too.
it is some of the like best
With no
cultural
luck.
programming, right? With no luck. They found it boring. They didn't understand the celebrities. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Like Joan Baez, okay, I love her, but there's no logical reason that they should care about her at all. But even the movie with Jason Segel, like they just weren't really connecting to it. And then finally, I was like, asked my eldest son, I was like, please come upstairs. I have a TV in my bedroom now. Flexed. I was like, please come upstairs. We're gonna get cozy in the big bed, and I want just to watch the Muppet Show with you guys. If you don't like it, you can leave in 5 minutes, but like give it 5 minutes. And it was Sabrina Carpenter, and we all love Man Child. It was our song of the summer.
It's a great song.
It's such a good song. And the new Muppet Show is like, I think, produced by Seth Rogen. Like he's heavily involved. So I knew it would be funny. We watched it. He was like dying laughing. We were all so giddy. Even the 2-year-old was like loving the Muppets. So I really recommend, like, if you want, and we had so much fun watching it. Genuinely, like it was the
I love
best.
that.
30 minutes I've had in a very long time with the kids.
It's like, what's the German word for when your kids finally let you watch or like do something with them that you've been begging them to, and it works.
And it works, and it clicks.
Feels so good.
So good. And then they were like, more. They were like, is there more? Is there more Muppet Show? Like, where's, and then we went into the back catalog. We started watching the Jason Segel movie.
I'm so happy for you.
I like, truly. And Sarah, if you've been trying, the new one is like very good.
Okay. I'm going to go for it.
It's super like, I think, witty and in tune with what the kids are laughing about now. There's like really good music in it. And I think it will be the ticket into the Muppets. And
okay,
I've
is
been
good because they're
dying.
ragging on me about my recommendations lately. Like, they've been ganging up on me, which is good. I like it because it means they're not fighting, and I'm happy to have them on the same side and take the heat. But they have like a running bit about how much I want them to watch this documentary about otters. Come on. It sounds great. But I did have success recently with Legends of the Hidden Temple reruns and Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm gonna try that in a couple
and so
years,
maybe like the wheels have been greased and we can But I could like suggest it lightly. Like,
it's like, oh, look at this. Oh, I did to Sabrina Carpenter.
Okay.
That's so funny. What's she up to?
Super helpful.
Yeah. Muppet Show. Big thumbs up.
Well, we so enjoy having you on. We're so impressed with this book and with all the writing you've done around it. I just imagine it's sparking really interesting conversations and reflection for people. So thank you for it. And thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I always have a lot of fun chatting with you both. And it's a pleasure to now be aware of perimenopausal vertigo and
come back.
Live in fear of it.
May it never happen to you.
Thanks for listening to The Mother of It All. And like my mom always said, get a job.
The Mother of It All is produced by Opus Knox Media with music from It's Electric. If you like this episode, why not send it to a friend right now? Go on, we'll wait. You can follow us on Substack at themotherofitall.substack.com, where subscribing will get you episodes and bonus posts in your inbox and connect you with the Mother of It All listener community. Plus, become a paid subscriber and get a hot off the presses Mother of It All canvas tote. We're also on Instagram at The Mother of It All, and you can email us anytime with ideas or feedback at motherculturepod@gmail.com.